Firstly, I was able to personally connect over WhatsApp with around close to 3K people, and it's really awesome to have a conversation and hear about their success stories and few failures. Secondly, it actually removed the fear of losing a job because now I have a community where I have a lot of job opportunities coming in.
Hello! Hi everyone! Welcome to Guiding Voice podcast series. The Guiding Voice for a better future. This podcast is to help students and young professionals to shape their careers. Thank you for tuning in. This is Naveen and I'm with my co-host Sudhakar. Dear listeners, in this episode, we are presenting you another important topic, how to crack RPA interview. RPA stands for Robotic Process Automation.
To share tips about robotic process automation interviewing, we are pleased to have Sharath as our guest today. He is the youngest speaker on our podcast series so far. Sharath Raju is an RPA evangelist. His courses are available on Udemy. Within 5 years in the professional world, Sharath has achieved many milestones. Starting as an intern with BSNL, Sharath went on to work for Wipro and TAO, the Automation Office. In addition, he also served as editor-in-chief of Excel Cult. Currently, Sharath is with an IT services consulting firm based out of Hyderabad.
Sharath has a whopping 21,000 professional connections on LinkedIn. Let's talk about it in a while. Coming to his education, Sharath has done his bachelor's in electrical and electronics engineering.
Thank you, Sharath, for joining us today, and we really appreciate your valuable time.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to sharing my thoughts and experiences with you guys.
Right then, let's get into your world of robotic process automation. We will start with the building blocks, okay? So, how do we define RPA in layman terms? Where does it fit in the overall business cycle? And, how does it help in digital transformation?
That's great. So, in simpler terms, I can define RPA as something that can help humans by taking up their mundane jobs that don't inspire them and allows them to get involved into something which actually requires their cognitive skills. Many of the businesses that we see today can actually have RPA in their tech stack. It is capable of doubling or tripling the benefits in terms of productivity, cost reduction. In fact, since last 3 to 4 years, RPA is being practiced in many of the companies these days to cut down time, costs, and efforts, thus improving the quality of the work. Through this, companies can actually able to move their employees to more important roles. So it can be implemented in almost all the domains like banking, insurance, telecom, healthcare, and HR. So that leaves us with a ton of opportunities to be explored.
Ton of opportunities. That is really exciting. What are various RPS tools available in the market, Sharath? Meaning, how can someone get started?
Yeah, talking about the tools, there are close to 50 plus tools available in the market, though most of us know only few of them, and there are more coming up every year. But which tool to pick and which tool to keep aside totally depends on your comfort. When I say comfort, I mean how much confident you're about the programming, because a few of them provide extreme programming options while others are just drag and drop. And we can also find most of them are a mix of both, which is the most common case. Through RPA, we are able to handle structured data right now, but in the coming years, we will end up learning a lot of new things and concepts around processing unstructured data. Believe me, it's evolving with a rapid pace. So a person with continuous learning attitude and enthusiasm to explore new capabilities and features is good to go. Good thing here is that you actually don't need a CS degree, computer science degree to understand all the concepts around RPA. You have got plenty of resources out there. Most of them are freely available. All it takes is one's interest to make use of them. Every RPA tool has got its own academy, through which you can understand the capabilities of that RPA tool, and you can practice some case studies provided by them. If you're stuck somewhere, you have forums to ask your queries, which is something that will actually make your learning curve more smoother. Pick a tool and get started with it. Because RPA being a technology, to achieve that, we can use any tool, and if you just get comfortable with one tool, you can easily be able to learn the others.
You know, Sharath, I was under the assumption that there are only two RPA tools in the market. One is Blue Prism and the other one is Automation Anywhere. And I got to know that 50 plus tools are available in the market. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And so, Sharath, can you share some certification options in the RPA world? And is it mandatory to have them?
Sure. So when it comes to certifications, these days, as mentioned earlier, every tool has its own academy where you will find a bunch of free certifications that can get you started.
Mm-hmm.
There are certifications ranging from beginner stuff to advanced. But here's the point. They are just good to learn the technology and are not enough to get you a job. For that, you really have to put that knowledge into practice. Study RPA success stories, create use cases, practice different use cases, and that's how you can make it into RPA. I'm saying this because I see a lot of people who have taken the certifications but have zero idea on how they can apply it to automate their daily mundane tasks. Please don't be one among them. That would be my advice.
That's a wonderful advice, Sharath. In fact, many people think if they undergo a certification, they'll get a job. You have brought in a very valid point in terms of putting your knowledge into practice, then only you can learn certain things. Very nice. And I love the way you establish yourself as an RPA evangelist. So what exactly does an RPA evangelist do? And where did that passion or fascination start? You're a very young chap.
I'm thankful for that, Naveen. After talking to a bunch of people in the RPA community, I realized that a lot of them are trying to move out of their current jobs and are interested in trying out robotic automation. But they feel lost as they don't find relatable content on the internet, as this industry recently got much attention. And this lack of clear picture only makes them feel helpless. So with that in mind, I thought to help them out with whatever experience I have and show them what's possible with RPA and how they can get into this industry. Speaking to one-on-one with close to 2,000 people was a great thing that happened to me, and it helped me understand the different problems that people face in their attempt to get into RPA. Blog, YouTube channel, Udemy courses, my posts on LinkedIn are an attempt to help many such people around the world. And I really enjoy talking to people when they share their experiences and dreams, especially people who are committed to their growth and goals. Being an RPA evangelist gave me an opportunity to help thousands of them on the way. This keeps me motivated to create new opportunities and learning resources for the RPA community.
Speaking to 2,000 people one-on-one.
Yeah.
I don't know how you managed to do it, Sharath. That is really a huge number, Sharath. So typically when you talk to people from technical perspective, what are the typical tips that you provide to them to crack, an RPA interview?
RPA, though people say is a drag and drop technology, actually it's not. I would agree with that if you would have told that to me in 2016, but it has grown a lot since then. Now it is being integrated with a lot of other technology, which gives it more power. So having programming knowledge would really be a great advantage. Most of the RPA tools today available in the market are using .NET. So learning .NET framework and exploring languages like C# and VB. Yeah, here learning the basics should work completely fine. But if you're someone who wants to automate complex processes with these tools, try to dig deeper into these languages. Also, having basic knowledge on database queries, macros, Python, and JavaScript is an added advantage. So instead of just learning whatever comes on the way, try to find topics which are relevant to the market and start working on them, because RPA is still growing, these are the few things that need your attention while trying to crack the interview. Believe me, it will just take you 3 to 4 months to crack an interview with this kind of approach.
I think anyone will buy that. By following one approach, if we can crack an interview in 3 to 4 months, I think that is a steal. So on the interview standpoint, thanks to that technical summary, but anything specific from the behavioral or soft skill standpoint, Sharath?
Sure, Sudhakar. So good communication skills are always appreciated here. As many of the organizations are still new to the technology, your understanding of its capabilities and benefits and how exactly you project them are the key here. Because there is no hierarchical structure being maintained in most companies. Consequently, there are no specific RPA rules. I mean, employees are not confined to specific job types. So sometimes developers have to take up meetings with clients to showcase the benefits and the demo of automated processes. One should be good at listening, as it will give him or her a good understanding of the process. Should also be good at paying attention to the details and come up with different possible approaches for the business process being automated. And with good critical thinking abilities, one should be able to review and pick up the best possible solution. This would be an added advantage here again.
Great, Sharath. So it's about communication skills, good listening, combined with critical thinking abilities. So will help someone succeed in RPA interviews. And these communication skills are something that is coming out as a common theme with all our guests. So dear listeners, it is very, very important for each one of us to improve our communication skills and to succeed in our careers. So Sharath, how does a career in RPA domain look like? Where do you see RPA as a field or technology in 5 years from now?
Yes, Naveen. So as we can observe the market, it's obvious that it is growing with a lot of potential in it. It's going to unveil more opportunities for different categories of people like devs, managers, architects, business analysts, and admins. But as the years pass through, people might end up facing a competitive market when compared to the past few years with growing resources count. Being prepared for that would be always suggested. Right now, as a RPA developer, I have been mostly working on the structured data since almost 3 years while exploring different capabilities of RPA. But soon, maybe in another 1 or 2 years, we'll be in a position to combine RPA with AI capability. That's what would be the future of RPA. As we can see that being already implemented, but it's still in its early stages. So I see myself exploring more on those elements in the years to come, where it's the mixture of structured and unstructured inputs. That idea is really exciting to me, as it makes the automation more powerful than ever.
Artificial intelligence combined with RPA. That sounds exciting times going forward. Sharath, a little bit of switching gears to a different topic. You got about 21,000 connections on LinkedIn, like Naveen was mentioning earlier. How is that network helping you, or other way around? How are you helping those connections?
I'm curious too, Sharath.
That's interesting actually. It's helping me to grow professionally and personally.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me around 1.5 years to accumulate all this.
Wow.
Firstly, I was able to personally connect over WhatsApp with around close to 3K people, and it's really awesome to have a conversation and hear about their success stories and few failures. Secondly, it actually removed the fear of losing a job, because now I have a community where I have a lot of job opportunities coming in. And because I work full time, I say no to most of the freelance projects, but I try to connect them with other experts that I know, which again gives me a lot of satisfaction when I connect them and they find it helpful. And finally, it gave me the opportunity to serve more people with the skills and the experience that I actually have. They are really supportive, and that encourages me to explore more and allows me to help newcomers who are trying to build their visibility.
Excellent.
Naveen and Sudhakar, so what are the topics that you want to ask?
We start with any topic under the sun that helps our students and young professionals. It starts from soft skills, it starts from interviewing skills, it starts from technologies, current trends, futuristic forecast. The idea of introducing the guiding voice was to enable and to bridge the gap between the demand and supply. The demand from the students and young professionals to see the larger picture and to connect them to the industry leaders who have been there, done it, to provide their perspective into it.
Sure, Sudhakar.
Naveen, anything else that you would add?
Yeah, so maybe a year from now, Sharath, if we talk about our vision, maybe a year from now, if you look back, if somebody who is a student or a young professional who is aspiring to grow in their career, they should just refer to the Guiding Voice podcast series for specific episode. And when I say specific episode, if somebody wants to refer to product management, you will find an episode on product management where a seasoned product manager talks about his or her journey and what are the roles within that product manager and what it takes to become a product manager. And on the other hand, if there is somebody who is aspiring to become a CXO, so you'll find an episode related to day in the life of a CXO and what it took them to hit that particular C-suite, how their mentors have helped them, and how did they carve out their career to reach the position that they are in. So you name, as Sudhakar was mentioning, you name anything under the gamut of information technology. So we want to be the one-stop destination with regard to serving our listeners to hear anything and everything about information technology so that they get guided and informed information from our seasoned patrons and the guest speakers and also passionate individuals like you who are serving as evangelists in technology. Hope that helps.
Sure, Naveen. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, Sudhakar. So I would just like to know about your views on how helpful would be a personal brand to a person.
That's a great question, Sharath. I think for every one of us, that personal branding is important. In my mind, when you talk about personal brand, it is more to resonate what comes to your mind when you pick that name. For example, when you say McDonald, you have that yellowish gold color ring of M coming in your mind. Like the same way, if someone talks about Sharath, they should be able to visualize that RPA evangelist. Or if someone talks about Sudhakar, they should be able to visualize the person or the voice behind the guiding voice, the co-partner with Naveen. So to have that brand recollection, it is always good to maintain what you want to be known as. So if you want to be a C-suite person in next 10 years, you should be in that journey of becoming a CXO, and accordingly you need to sow the seeds from the beginning of your career itself so that the evolution or the evolving of this whole process is represented properly.
Yeah, absolutely. I would resonate with Sudhakar's thoughts. Branding should not be thought maybe after 5 years or 10 years down the line in your career. The moment you start, from day one onward, somebody's branding will start. And it takes, say, 1 or 2 decades to build your brand or reputation. And at the same time, it takes just 5 seconds to ruin your entire brand. So we got to be very careful in terms of what somebody wants to look up to us and how we want to be seen as. First of all, we have to be confident about ourselves and project that particular confidence in the way we communicate, the way we talk, walk, and everything. Be known for something. If, as Sudhakar was mentioning, like if RPA comes to my mind, yeah, Sharath is the brand. Sharath is the person whom I can go to. So similarly, if X person is there, that person has to be known for his niche in any of the fields that he or she is operating. And the moment somebody talks about the topic, immediately this person's name should pop up on the mind. That's about it.
Absolutely. Like I think it was Kevin Plank who said that, trust is built in drops and lost in buckets. I would put the same way. Brand is something that you need to build in drops, and like Naveen mentioned, you can lose it in buckets in one split of a second.
That's really great. So Naveen and Sudhakar, I have a question for you. So I just see a lot of people who switch careers too soon. Okay, maybe they try to get into one thing and they soon drop it and then pick something else. Okay, and that's how they end up like losing their time. Okay, so they learn something but they don't put it into practice. Okay, so what do you suggest for those kind of people?
Yeah, so maybe I'll go first and then Sudhakar can share his thoughts. So in my opinion, when you're thinking about your career, right, we have to always plan long term. Similar to how Warren Buffett plans his investments. He's going to look at the growth of a company based on the prospects, based on the domain in which that company is operating and how that particular market is going to evolve. Similarly, each one of us have to have a long-term vision on our careers. For example, if you want to switch to a technology, first thing that should come to our mind is the technology going to be there for another 5 years or 10 years? Of course, 10 years is too long, but just to be optimistic, in case if the technology is going to be there for 3 to 5 years, then it is better to switch to that particular technology. And is it completely alien to what you are doing? So we have to also give it a thought, because it is better to diversify someone's experience, but at the same time we need to be cautious in terms of not deviating from the long-term vision that you have, because if you don't plan it well, we might get lost and we may not be able to reach our long-term vision. So at every switch, the candidate has to question himself or herself, am I nearing my vision or is it completely deviating? Because that kind of introspection or retrospection would definitely help them make a right decision. And one other point, when someone is in doubt, definitely they have to have a mentor for themselves. And instead of having 2 to 3 mentors, I would say rely on a particular mentor whom they can trust completely and who knows in and out about that particular person. Because mentor's role plays a very, very crucial role, because they have already seen the life and they already have exposure to multiple things and they will be giving someone a guided direction. So definitely it is worth to make your own research and then get it vetted by the mentor and make a decision. That would be my approach. And excellent question, Sharath. Over to Sudhakar.
I think you covered it well, Naveen. I just wanted to highlight 2 points. One, remember, whenever you are course correcting yourself, you are resetting it back to 0. So you need to start from scratch. So invest and take guidance, do the homework. But once you start, pursue that path for some time until you realize that you definitely need to change. Second thing, having a mentor is really important. I was listening to one of the CEOs, a big company CEOs, on a podcast. He himself was mentioning that even he has a mentor with whom he compares his notes and gets guidance from. So I always give this analogy. Someone like Messi or Ronaldo also have coaches, not because the people are not good or the players are not good, but it is always good to compare your notes with someone from an outside-in perspective.
That's actually a lot of information to us, Sudhakar and Naveen. Thanks a lot for that.
Thanks, Sharath, for the wonderful questions.
Excellent. Sharath, thank you very much for your insights on robotic process automation and for amazing questions which gave us the opportunity to think it through and share our views on those specific scenarios. It was indeed a great conversation, and I'm sure our listeners got a detailed perspective with your thoughts.
It's been a pleasure talking to you guys, and I really enjoyed your show, Naveen and Sudhakar. Hope this will help listeners get started with their RPA journey. Thank you again for having me on the show.
Dear listeners, to know more about our speaker and the content, visit or follow us on social media or feel free to email us.
All right. It brings us to the trivia segment of this episode, folks. And today's trivia is related to robots. Since we had Sharath talking about robotic process automation, we thought it would be relevant to have a discussion around robots. So did you know? Currently there are more than 1 million industrial robots in the world, out of which nearly half of them are in Japan. No wonder. Japanese are always pioneers in automation and robotics. Hope this is insightful. Thank you for tuning in. So if you'd like to share any trivias, please feel free to share them through email, theguidingvoice number 4 letter U @gmail.com, or you can SMS us or WhatsApp us on India number 9494587187. We will not only share the best trivias in future episodes, but we will also announce your names on this show. Again, folks, we are open for suggestions on topics that you would like to hear from us through email. Our email address is theguidingvoice number 4 letter U @gmail.com. I repeat, the email address is theguidingvoice number 4 letter U @gmail.com, and you may also WhatsApp us on India number 9494587187. Request you to like our page on Facebook, facebook.com/theguidingvoice number 4 letter U, and follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/guidingvoice, to stay tuned about future episodes. There is more in store. Until next time, have a wonderful time. Take care and be safe. Thank you for listening.